Welcome to Dads with Startups, a podcast about a couple of entrepreneurs who put family first. How's it going, Kevin?
Going well, going pretty well. How you doing today?
Pretty good. I'm at home, as you can
Yeah,
probably see
I
if
can
you're on
see.
YouTube. My kid got COVID, and I kind of told you
I
about this before we
yeah.
started the broadcast. Um, but it's funny because I've had been dealing with a cold for like 6 weeks now.
Hmm.
I got a cold forever ago, and then it was just this lingering cough that wouldn't go away for a couple weeks. And then I got another cold, and I was like,
Ah,
"How did this happen?" And so I went and got tested again, and it came back negative. So I was like, "Well, I just got some other cold." And then like a week later, here we are. My son has
oh.
COVID, and so I have these cold symptoms lingering still from the other one, and who knows what I if I have it or not. So.
Yes, that sounds about right. I think when I got COVID about a month ago, it was just on the heels of another kind of little virus, maybe a week or two out, and I couldn't believe it. So definitely can relate there. It's just how it goes, I guess. But hopefully everybody is doing okay over on your end with that.
Yeah, so far, my wife and I are vaccinated, so we tested
Mm.
ourselves earlier this week and negative, but
Nice.
that was 4 days ago, so who knows
Yeah, yeah.
if we got it. We'll we'll test again this weekend.
Well, at some point, everyone's going to get this thing, or at least be exposed to it. So
Yeah,
that's kind of how we felt. Both our kids got it, and while it wasn't, while there was a bit of nervousness there, they did okay, and just have just hope most every kid, or as many kids as possible, have the
I know.
same effects.
Yeah, we I feel a little bit the same way. I feel a little bit relieved that my son actually has it because it means,
Yeah,
okay, I mean, how long has it been with the pandemic? A year and a half, and we haven't had it in our house yet. So I was kind of like, oh, finally we have this, so
yeah,
we know that we can survive it. And our kids, once they have it, they'll be immune for at least a few months. So we don't
yes,
have to worry about too much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a little while, which is good.
Yeah. Anyway, anything new on
Cool.
the business front?
Oh man, yeah. It's interesting. I'm feel like I'm juggling a lot right now. We just got back from almost a month in a place called Payson, Arizona. We were up there as a family. Once we got COVID, we had to take our daughter out of school, and she was out for like a week, 10 days, I think. And so we just thought after the sixth or seventh day, like, oh, we want to go on vacation. Let's just go. And so the last time I was recording with you, I was there, as I mentioned,
Yeah.
and so I'm now back in Phoenix, and thankfully the weather's cooler, but it is going from this beautiful, lush Garden of Eden up there to the desert is kind of a bit of a contrast. And so I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. We are in the business side of things. We are. Uh, I'm I'm kind of taking or shifting the direction of this product Owlish that I'm about to start doing beta test process, kind of with getting into the beta side of things. So I'll probably get into that a little bit more, but right now we have almost finalized the integration with WordPress, and I'm testing that out. I'm now actually using it for one of our online courses, which I'm excited about, and starting to put it in front of some of our online course students. And now I'm just kind of in the point where I need to reach out to people. I've actually started reaching out via email to some of the lists that we have to see how if folks have an interest in joining the beta a little bit and just trying it out. So that'll be something that I'll be struggling with over the next month or so, is to try to enroll some folks. And I think one of the things that I need to figure out right now is how to make that feel secure for them, because really what I'm asking is for them to sort of invest, at least trust that this product is going to be around, because it is a big deal to build out your course in any new platform, and you're kind of
Yeah.
making a commitment to do so. You're saying, okay, you guys are the ones I'm going with. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time uploading videos and organizing things. So it's not super easy to redo all that if this platform were to fall off the face of the map. And so I've got to I think my the big issue right now I have is that our website is not very reassuring. It's just like almost like a landing page right now, like
Mhm.
coming soon. And as I was looking at that, after emailing 30 or 40 people and not really getting too much interest, I realized, okay, maybe it's time to beef that up a bit, because I could see a lot of people from the email were actually checking out the website, but not staying too long. So that's one little theory I'm going to try spending the next week or so, and really making that website look like there's some legitimacy here, because it's just not there right now.
Yeah, that's really cool that you're able to dog food it though. I mean,
That's the cool part. Yeah, I mean,
that's the
and I'm
dream.
finding lots of errors that way,
Yeah.
lots of bugs.
How do you how are you gonna like these beta users, where are they coming from? Do you have a list already or some relationships?
It's a good question. This is something that I'll probably want to get some feedback from you on, and any of our listeners if they want to email in. Right now, my best kind of approach, or my best guess of what I'll do, is I have a pretty good sized list for our WordPress, of a WordPress list of developers, mix of developers and some membership creators and owners. So it's a bit of a warm list. I wouldn't say it's any kind of hot list or very
Yeah.
targeted, but it's a couple thousand at least. And my thought is to kind of start there, put out some feelers there, and just say, some of you I know are course creators. If you are, self-select. You know, let me know. I'd love to chat with you further, or have you try something out. So I've got to look into kind of like best practices with that. We have some products that lean more towards the membership create and video side of things. So I probably will start there actually, and
Yeah.
give that a try. I've actually am collecting email addresses on our website, surprisingly, just because we've been having a blog, a writer that's been doing a pretty good job, and traffic has been slowly going up over the past year, just um, based on the topics that are related to the product. So
Nice.
we've collected some emails, and but yeah, now it's time to kind of convert some of that over and try to get a few people in the door. I think what I also will offer is just a lot of VIP, like I'll help you get set up, I'll help you
Oh yeah.
migrate, whatever, and that's some of the legwork that I have to do and promise in the email, so that it's an easier decision for them. They don't have to learn a new system. I can really, I might still have them try stuff, but I'm going to hold their hand,
Right.
um, and get things going there. So
Doing the things that don't scale
exactly,
in the
yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, so now it's time to make that happen, and,
That's cool.
yeah, we'll see. I'll update you next time and see if I got a few.
Yeah, I'm excited.
What about you? What's going on your end business-wise?
Um, well, let's see. We've got I have this person working with me. She lives in Arizona and she's amazing to work with, and she really is capable of wearing multiple hats and thinking about the business in different ways. She used to be a customer, and I recruited her over to work for Pacific Review. Um, and she her primary responsibility is customer success, and so um, that's basically helping customers set up their forms, um, and just kind of get them set up, and training, all of that. Well, so far, customer success, or I should say, new customer implementation, has been a huge time sucker to the business. And I look
Okay,
back the last several months, and it's like there is there's no like there's so much work being put in, even on my part, and I'm supposed to be doing a lot of the product development, engineering type of work, and I can't do that when I'm helping customers get set up. And even with
right.
Biddy on board, there are a lot of processes that are not in place to help make it move along faster. So we've been organizing everything. We were using Trello kind of as a project
Sure.
management, just keeping track of all the tasks that need to be done, and keeping track of our different customers, and Trello's great. It's very simple and it does that one simple job really, really well, which is
Right.
why there's such a successful product. Um, but we've migrated everything over into ClickUp. I don't know if you've heard of ClickUp, kind of like
Yeah. Is it integration? Or is it like automation type stuff or not? Or is that something else?
um, I would say it's just a all around project management
Okay.
tool, kind of the new kid on the block.
Gotcha.
Um, and the um, it's worked out really well. It's taken there's been a learning curve, and we've been trying to organize our thoughts and then translate that into this
Okay.
completely customizable project management platform. And I think we're starting to get closer to organizing it really well. And we've been talking about setting up guides for ourselves where we just kind of follow these steps and processes for um, onboarding new customers and getting them set up and everything. And my hope is that this will allow us to take on more new customers each month. And,
Right.
because right now there's kind of this bottleneck. I mean, if I suddenly had a large number of customers asking to sign up for our software, I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Gotcha.
And it wouldn't, and by large, I mean actually a small number of
Right.
customers all at once. And
What
so
is what are some of the big steps that are involved? I'm just curious, like, what do they look like? What are they? Is that you provisioning something? Is it you going into the system to do stuff, or is it more just like scheduling a meeting? Or
um, it's so what are it's like they have so Civic Review has a big component which is form building, and so we build forms for them and get them all set up, and we set
right?
up the fee schedule and integrations, and um, so there's kind of like a meeting to set that up, and then we work through it and ask them questions, and
Gotcha.
they kind of follow through this chain of events for each of their forms as we set them up. So
Okay.
it's very
Interesting.
hands-on.
So
The
you kind of
dream is
set up their forms, personalize it for them in a way.
Yeah, yeah, it's very hands-on, which is really typical in the industry, and
Right.
frankly, most of our customers, they'll get set up in as little as 3 weeks, I think,
Okay.
sometimes just 1 to 2 months. A lot of our
Hmm.
competitors, we've been hearing about some of our competitors taking, I mean, just
Wow.
like 8 or
Long
9
time.
months
Oh
to
my
set up.
gosh.
So, yeah, it's,
That's insane.
yeah, the
So
bar is
hectic.
low, you know?
That's good. Yeah, that's a big opportunity there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder if she's doing more, she's doing sales as well, or she mostly just focus on customer success and onboarding.
She's doing a little bit of sales. She is. We're working on some content to try to drive more inbound traffic,
Right, right.
and
That's good.
she's a really good writer. She was an English major for a while in college, so um, she's been writing a bunch of these drip emails that will go out to people that we met at conferences, that kind of thing, and then over time we'll start adding more. Um, content to the website and everything. So
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that's good. So it's part of the growing pains of being small businesses, like wearing those different hats. I have, even the person that I have running our plugin business. I mean, I have her wearing so many different hats, and thankfully she's really good at that. But it is, her time is of course limited. So,
is she the one
um,
that's writing? You mentioned somebody was writing for you guys, writing
oh,
content.
what we have found is we have a guy that does SEO that I found randomly on Upwork, and he's
Oh,
he's helped us grow our for one of our businesses. He's helped us grow our traffic. I may have mentioned that from like
yeah,
20,000 views to like 140
yeah,
just by doing good keywords. But he's part of the flow. So like basically, we're on Asana, and part of that process is he comes up with articles and he assigns it to the writers, and then we just have writers that we've found various places, and that's all they do. But they're contractors.
yeah.
They're not really writing in any deep capacity for us. It would be interesting though. I mean, I almost wonder if you could find VA type person who's smart and technical and have her manage them instead of her doing it directly or something like that. Um, or I guess it would also you'd probably have to find someone who is good customer facing though, right? Because a lot of
Yeah.
that is personalized. But it's possible too. You could
Yep.
do a little bit of like a meet and greet, um, and then some of it could be via chat or something or via email, and they can do that. Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's
It's
funny.
cool.
I
It sounds
mean,
like a interesting problem.
yeah, I mean, my business has been largely outbound sales in the past, and recently I've been thinking I'm going to change how I'm doing customer acquisition. I'm going to focus a little more on building that marketing engine, right?
Yeah,
And uh, and I haven't done anything yet for it. I've just really been mentally making plans and um, with me and my colleagues but we've suddenly had these inbound leads coming in.
nice.
We got one from Vermont just randomly. We have no customers over in Vermont, and I just had a call before ours with a guy in Canada, and they're looking. He actually clicked on an ad that I forgot was running
Wow,
on Google Ads.
nice. That's
I don't
cool.
even pay $100 a month for that ad. I mean, usually it doesn't get shown enough. I think there's a budget of $100
Sure, a
a
month or
month
something. Yeah,
or something like that, and there's not even anyway, but he clicked on one and found us, and we have a demo next
beautiful.
week, so, yeah.
And then anyone coming from pure SEO, as far as you can tell?
The one in Vermont was, yeah, pure
Nice.
SEO, yeah,
Okay.
so,
So that says to me that you guys really could capitalize. It sounds like you guys have a big opportunity here to
yeah,
capitalize on SEO. If you're getting traffic without even trying and
mm,
people are looking for it, you must be in a very nice niche
yep,
in terms of search wise,
we just need
just by putting
more,
stuff out there.
yep, yeah, we just
Yeah.
need more
I
stuff
mean,
out there.
yeah, I think that's what I want to do as well. We're getting about 100. It's not huge for us, but 100 views I think a month. But I mean, last year we were at none, and that's just from some maybe 10 articles we put out there. And my goal for the next couple weeks is I feel like I'm wasting that traffic. I don't know if you heard the episode of the Tropical MBA. I don't know if you listened to that very much. I know you're in the DC, but there
Occasionally.
was a good episode about a month back or less by a guy named John Ainsworth, and it was all about funnels. And so even for our listeners, if you are running a SaaS and yet you're interested in doing a SaaS and you're haven't set up a lot of your funnels from maybe your blog, maybe other traffic sources that are showing your website. You might check out this podcast. Maybe we can link it in the show notes. But basically, he does this. I have to say, I've done funnels for 7 or 8 years, and I was pretty impressed by how much value he gave in that episode. It was just lovely. I mean, little low hanging fruit here and there that we all should be taking advantage of to some extent. Some of it's not going to apply, but in you know stuff like upsells and order bumps may or may not apply to everybody. But even just where to put your opt-in boxes and how to put them in and what tactics to use for that would be
Yeah.
huge. And then what do you do with them when you get them? Really, a lot of great stuff in there. So something to think about.
So you're saying you have a goal for the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so my goal is to re-optimize the site and especially my opt-in boxes, how they work. What right now they're just kind of funneling in. I'm doing nothing with them. I'm not sending them an email even. I'm terrible on that. So I really want to. I know I have an email now that's going out, but I really want to make it more customized to what did they just read. So if you think
Yeah,
about your blog, you can divide your blog into some of the areas of things that of services that you provide or whatever. And so if having my blog such that if you're on a category related to online courses for I don't know for foodies, um, there's maybe there's an email that you get that's different than if you signed up on a different category of blog, so that they're getting a much more personalized experience.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna ask you about this next time. We'll
Yeah.
follow up,
Oh yeah, let's do it.
see if you met your goal.
Hmm.
Um, all
I
right,
like it.
well, cool. So last time we talked, we started touching a little bit on um, getting through tough times financially. I have a
Yes.
lot to say about this,
Oh, good.
so I'm gonna start. Um,
Please.
so when when I decided to launch Civic Review, I was living comfortably doing freelance contract work, right? And um, and I told my wife, look, if I do this, I've got to dedicate time. I can't just do nights and weekends for this, right? And so I said, you know, I can't remember if well, basically, long story short, in the first year after I launched Civic Review, I was still doing contract work, but my income was cut pretty much in half. So, like my tax return the next year was half of what it was the previous year. Um, super meager. I
Wow.
don't need to give you the number, but it's way less than anybody would expect.
Yeah.
Um, we figured out how to make it work because 100% of the income was just coming from freelance. At the time, I wasn't making anything off of Civic Review, and so we started on a personal note. So um, family matters, we set up the envelope system. Are you familiar with the
Yes.
Dave Ramsey envelope
Absolutely.
system?
I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan, though I don't listen to him like every day, but I every month I try to check in a few times with him.
I've
Like
actually
he's
never listened to any of his shows or read any of
wow.
his books, but I'm familiar with the envelope method.
Sure.
I mean, and so we set up envelopes, and we were like, we're not using credit cards for anything. Um, we're just gonna pull cash out of the bank and pay everything with cash. So we did all of our grocery
Nice.
shopping, like everything that wasn't like a phone bill, that type of stuff. We had to pay with a debit card, but we were just cash on everything.
Wow.
And that was fine and everything, but we still ended up there were still some there were still some hard things about doing the cash method because
Hmm.
we still had money in the bank, and if we needed it, we could always just dip into that,
Right.
with the
Right.
card. So the cash was at least we were doing some budgeting, and we tried other tools like we tried Mint. I don't know if you've ever used Mint.
I have
Um, And it was just like, yeah, Mint just
unhelpful.
feels, yeah, unhelpful. It's like a reporting tool, but doesn't
Yeah.
really help you make
Gives you a lot of
decisions.
information and you're like, well, I don't know what to do with all this, but
Yeah,
okay, I guess
and then
I'll
they give you ads all over to sign up
yeah.
for credit cards, and it's like you're defeating the purpose here. Um, we did sign up for, well, I'll tell you at least a little bit what kind of budget we were living on. So we had at the time, I think we had 2 kids. I had my
Mhm.
3rd kid that first year. Um, So a family of 5, and our grocery budget was 350 a month.
Wow.
And
That's great.
yeah, and that was nice because the end of every month would be like, we can't go out and buy more food. We
Yeah.
just gotta figure out something with what we have here, and
Get
that was
out the
really good
rice.
practice to
Yeah.
have. Um, but anyway, then we ditched the envelope method and we signed up for a bank called Simple Bank. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah. Now that has built-in budgeting. Is that right?
It was amazing. Unfortunately, they sold out. Another company bought them and then they shut them down. So, um, but yeah, Simple Bank, they have this budgeting where the bank itself has highly integrated budgeting tools. A lot of other banks offer like a budgeting tool online, but it's not really helpful either. Simple was different though, and so when you looked up your balance, it wouldn't just show you the full balance, how much money was in your bank account. It would actually just show you how much you had in a safe to spend category. And so we would budget everything
Nice.
out, and our safe to spend was usually about 150 bucks or so a month, and
Hmm.
everything else was budgeted out into something: groceries,
Okay.
clothes, gifts, donations and eating out, entertainment, like all of that stuff. We even had um, budgets for like car registrations that only happen once a year, and it would just plug away like $5 a month for car registration, so that when it was time to register our
Hmm.
car, we'd have money sitting there. So we probably saved. I mean, in the first year that we had that bank, we had we had like a couple $1,000s more on hand than we
Wow.
had in previous years.
Yeah.
Uh,
Nice.
Maybe like $5,000 more on
It's
hand
awesome.
than in previous years without increasing our income levels,
Right.
that year. So
So, and
pretty,
just for
pretty
a
amazing.
side note, there seems to be because I was looking at all these few weeks ago, and there's a company now called Cube, QUBE
Yeah,
Money. I think it's maybe the same idea, if not, I don't know if it became that, but it's kind of the same thing basically.
I
It's
have a
like,
big list of
okay,
um,
great.
alternative solutions. We haven't picked one yet though, because Simple was shut down not even a year ago. I mean, it was kind of recent. So
But you liked the fact that it was attached to the debit card versus
yeah.
just, separate on some app and then you have your credit card and you can do whatever you want and
Yep, and when you made a purchase, it would, send you a notification on your phone and have you
Mm.
categorize that purchase immediately,
Nice.
just really quickly, and so everything was accounted for that way.
Okay, great.
So it was I feel like I'm just giving this ad away, but the company doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sorry, you can't find it.
So, but that helped a lot in us getting through those times, and, we still live on a pretty meager budget, but it's not quite as tight as it used to be, but, um yeah, so that's on the personal side of financing. Um, Maybe before I get into the business side, I mean, since this is dads with startups, I thought it was appropriate to talk a little bit about personal,
Totally.
situations there. But what kind of impact did you guys have? Like when your journey, it was kind of a gradual one, sort of. But was there any
Yeah.
kind of situations where you guys were like, we got a budget?
Oh yeah, many times. I think it's what's interesting is we've had some really it's like I think it's just sometimes the reality. We've had some really great years where we were like, we felt like we won the lottery.
Yeah,
And then we had some big terrifying times where it was like, we're not gonna make it to the end of the month. And had we practiced what you just mentioned the whole time, it wouldn't have mattered because we would have had such a large buffer
yeah,
that it would have evened everything out. And our business too, a lot of it because of our online course business is very seasonal. So well, there even in the year we'll have great times where we're like, woo, let's go. So that's been interesting is trying to learn how to plan for that. Dave Ramsey has been a big inspiration for me, and just what I realized, I think, and I actually wrote an email to Dan of the Tropical MBA again. You'll probably hear me say TMBA a lot on this show, but he and Ian one day were on a podcast and they were sort of debating. There's also something called the FIRE movement. Maybe some of you know. I'm not sure.
mhm,
I think
no,
it's FIRE stands for um, something like financial independence, retire early. So the idea is, and there's a guy named Mr. Money Mustache, which basically his idea is basically, go down to the bare minimum of living and take every last penny and invest it and then become wealthy that way. And so, I would say that in general for us, we had a year where it was just gangbusters. We made a lot of money that year and we kind of started to get used to that. And then the very next year, and I mentioned this, I think, on the last podcast, we had a competitor that came into the market and he stole, I will say stole. I
yeah,
understand by the stole world, stole word.
it's war.
Yes.
Business is war.
Yeah. He stole about 30%, maybe 40% of our revenue went dropped just because of his entrance into the market within a year. And so that was quite a wake up call for us. And it was the year we were having our first baby. And, I remember walking near our apartment just every night, just stressed out, like, "We're not gonna make it." And, our business had really gone down, yet we had sort of expected and we signed a lease for a nice apartment and all this stuff. So we were living living based on the old budget. And that's when I started to realize how important budgeting was and how we needed it. Um, and so uh, I would say in general, just in terms of the personal thing, I have struggled though to find a long lasting solution that will keep me on track even when times are good. So I'm quite good at budgeting when things get to the wire. I go
Yeah.
back into budgeting mode. But then even this past year, things started getting a little better. We had a lot of money in the bank, we had a lot of cash reserves, and I started going back to getting a coffee every day and stuff. And it was just like I wasn't doing that for a couple of years. And so I am looking for something. And I'd be curious about your list of alternatives because what you mentioned with that simple, and I remember seeing that last year, that sounds really powerful just because of the integration of your card mixed with budgeting software. And that's where I think it's kind of hard for me to always remember every time I check out to like, okay, let me look at my app and see how much I have. Then I'll go pay for this 99 cent, meat
Yeah.
stick or whatever.
Yeah, the thing I liked about that was if it would be really hard to use that account and not budget. I think that's
Right. That's
true.
awesome.
And if you overspend beyond what you have budgeted and the money is actually coming out of, say, your new tire budget that you're saving up for,
Gotcha.
or something like that, it would bug you about it and be like,
Oh, cool.
you've overspent. You need to move some money around to make this work,
That's awesome.
And so then you have to get
That's
in and
awesome.
have to like shuffle stuff around and be like, all right, we're going to take some out of this, and make sure that it all balances. So, um,
Well, and not to harp on that too much, but I really do feel like this is the problem with budgeting software is y- we're all so busy. We have a
yeah,
thousand. I mean, I have so many things on my plate right now. I'm sure you do too. And it takes dedicated hours per week to sit down and review your budget. Where did I go over? Where did I not? And it's also not very fun. So to have a system that could do that for you and be the one looking out a little bit for you would be super helpful.
yeah,
So I'm
it
inspired now.
absolutely did. Yeah, it was magical. We never had, my wife and I never sat down and were like, we got to review our budget,
Right.
'cause it was always up to date.
Exactly.
And the other thing is, um, I didn't ever have to be one that was like, "You shouldn't have spent money on that," or vice
Mm,
versa, because we both know how much money we have,
yeah.
available.
Nice.
So one day we'll find the magical solution again, and who knows, maybe it's that cube or I have a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
list. But um, on the business front, we had a scary we had a scary I should say personally, I had a scary time about a year. It was probably my second year of Civic Review. So I had hired a part-time college student to work for me, and I got some grant money to initially hire him, and that gave me about 8 months of runway. And at the end of the 8 months, Civic Review was generating enough revenue to pay for him, so I didn't have
Nice.
to worry about it. And most of my income personally was still coming from freelance work. Um, but I had a good chunk of money saved up from that in that business bank account, and so I focused a lot of my time on Civic Review and product development, and added a lot of features to the product, and that was great. But I really neglected my freelance work, and
Right.
I feel like I mentioned this already in the past, but um, at the end, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay. Uh, the end of the fiscal year came around just on the cusp of getting paid by a lot of our customers on the annual. I only do annual plans with my
Gotcha.
product, so
Nice.
um, just at the end of that, but the bank account was empty, and I was like, I didn't even have any of my personal account to pay this guy who
Oh
was
my
working for
gosh.
me. So I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was like, at that time, I was like, "Oh, I wish I had been paying for a line of credit all this time so I could dip into that. It's like, I know I'll have the money in a month, but I just don't right
Yeah.
now. And so, fortunately, um, by some miracle, I got paid just barely in time, and I was able to pay him.
Wow.
And I don't even think he even knew that he was this close from being let go because I didn't have any money for him. Um, and after that, I went out, and I'm sort of a tools guy because I know if I'm not tracking something, I need a tool to help me do it, you know? And so um, I I found some forecasting software, and that's when I learned the value of forecasting software, especially if
Interesting.
you're not in a business that runs based on MRR. I don't,
Right.
my customers, they all pay annually, and they're government customers, and most government entities run on a fiscal year of July to June. And
Gotcha.
so um, I have this big wave of income, and then income kind of dries out for a while, and
Mm.
that's where I got in trouble, was on that dry part. I
So
hadn't
they sign
announced
up
it.
at a particular time of year typically? Would you say that there's like a time where they like to make a purchase like that or make a renewal?
Yeah, it's usually they'll talk to us, and then they'll say, "All right, we will plan to include this in our budget in the next budget cycle," you know.
Gotcha.
And so
Which
I
starts in July, August, I
July,
guess.
often July and August. So yeah,
Okay.
July and August, we have a surge in income, in revenue, and then it kind of dries up. So we don't really watch our how's MRR changing from month to month because
Sure.
it's wildly different in nature.
Yeah,
Um, but if it was, it'd be a little bit easier for budgeting because you have this more predictable stream of revenue
absolutely.
coming in every month. Um, so I went out and found some budgeting, I guess not budgeting software, but forecasting software
Interesting.
that will I can plug in all the numbers. I can lay out how much money I'm making in revenue per month, and so I'll just go look at the data on who my customers are and how much, you know, when I'm going to invoice all of them and get put those totals in, and then I can kind of forecast out. All right, at this rate, am I going to run out of money in 11 months or not? So that's a big game
Maybe
changer.
we could put the product you like in the show notes as well. I'd be curious, actually.
Yeah, it's called, I'll just say the name, it's called Live Plan,
Live
Live
plan.
Plan
Okay, great.
Forecasting, yeah.
Make a
So,
note of that.
yeah, um, that one
Nice. I
is
like that.
pretty affordable, and it works really well for that. There are a ton of other forecasting tools out there that, that just, connect to your Stripe account, monitor your MRR, but my situation's a little more unique, so
I think that's a good, and I think, yeah, a lot of folks might be involved in the SaaS world that are listening to this or something, but I can say with our other business, which was our online course and dental business, basically, it's extremely up and down and extremely seasonal, and so to have a tool like that would be actually really great. So I'm gonna look that up.
yeah. That's a good one. I don't know if you use QuickBooks, but it just connects into my
Wow,
QuickBooks
nice.
account and
Oh,
can
that's great.
compare my forecast
That's
with
awesome. All
that.
right, so you're
So,
not even doing that much manual entry. It's kind of just grabbing stuff and
yeah,
figuring it
it
out.
can just set it up based on your data. I did a lot of
Wow.
manual massaging of it,
Sure.
but it's really nice because it'll pull in from QuickBooks and then tell me if I'm on track or off track and update the
Oh, that's great.
forecast based on actual cash.
Well, the good news with you is that you have a product that is very difficult to just switch over to someone else from. I mean, once they've started with you guys, there's a huge incentive to want to keep paying you
Yeah,
yearly. So at
yeah,
least there's an aspect of that. I think
very low
um,
churn.
very low churn, yeah.
Yeah,
And so that's the neat thing about that kind of business is that you have to probably spend a lot more energy winning that customer and onboarding and all that stuff. But once you do, you know, you see these government systems. And when I worked in the educational sector, we
same
just,
story.
yeah, we
Yeah,
just kept this stuff. Like, what are we going to do? Spend a lot of time tearing it apart for what good, no good reason to.
yeah,
So,
yep. Cool. Well, we should probably wrap it up.
Sounds good. I think, I think it was a good topic overall. What I like about the fact that we talked about this today is there's a tendency to believe that anyone who's running businesses is just swimming in the dough. And the truth is, like, you really, you really have to think about how you're spending your money. I'll just throw in one last thing, which is my mom just told me about a documentary she watched about William Randolph Hearst. And if anyone's ever been over to the Hearst Castle, it's one of his mansions that he had. He had many mansions, but that was his main one off the coast of California. And the one thing I remember about what she told me was just how he was born rich. His parents were big into silver mining, and then he had all these newspapers, and he had done really well. And then the depression came, and no one wanted to read the news anymore. So all his empire dried up a little bit. But he lived his life without any thought of money. He would just have whatever he wanted. He would just do it, and didn't know how to budget, didn't care. And many times in that 10-year era of the depression, he had to ask for borrow money from his girlfriend, who was a famous actress.
Mm.
And this is a guy that had all the money in the world. So I really think it's a good lesson just about no matter how well you're doing in your business, you really have to have that discipline to watch what is going out the door, whether it's personal or business, actually. So
Yeah, it's kind of I was forced into that discipline.
as many of us
But
are, yeah,
fortunately, I'm
exactly.
still here. The business is thriving, so yeah,
I love it.
worked out.
Very cool. Well, for those of you who like the show, we ask that you would do us a huge favor and on your podcasting app, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Podcast Addict on Android, please do us a favor, leave us a review, and 5-star would be great. And we'd appreciate that. That helps spread the word about the podcast. And you can also find us at dadswithstartups.com, located, you'll see it below if you're watching the YouTube. And until next time, we will be eagerly awaiting to chat about our next topic. So it's been great chatting today, John.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.